Hi everyone, how are you? This is Bethany Gagné, founder of Numinous, the organization that sponsors the Resonant Peaceful Cities project. And in this video, what I'm going to be doing is to invite you to some upcoming Numinous programming. And that means that every few weeks, we're going to be offering a spiritual salon. Now, a salon is the French word for living room or drawing room. And what would happen in like the 18th, 19th centuries is people would invite their friends and family over to their living room and invite them to discuss one particular topic. It could have been something in politics, it could have been something regarding art. But this idea of inviting people together to have a rich discussion, to add nuance to the conversation by hearing all these different perspectives, right? And so I thought, well, that's the way I've always taught spirituality, right? Because it's way more fun when we have a topic and people in the group add their wisdom, add their perspectives, add their insights, right? And then what always happens is I always encourage a lot of group sharing, but then what will happen is I will eventually step in and have us bring in our spirit, bring in our nervous system, bring in biofeedback, bring in those types of concepts. Because my thing that I feel like is often missed in a lot of spiritual circles is the fact that spirituality is about our spirit. So what is our spirit? Our spirit is our biofield. It's the subtle energy field that surrounds the body, right? So to talk about spirituality without talking about your spirit, to me, just because I've had this weird awareness of it for so long, it's always felt very, just something, it's kind of like me trying to work with one hand behind my back, right? So what I've come to understand is that we become aware of our spirit, we become aware of our biofield, and we start working at that level, then it opens up this whole new doorway in ourselves for us to work from a much more powerful, transformative position, right? Because the mind is just surface. But if we move into our spirit, into our biofield, we start cleansing our spirit, cleansing our biofield, that it completely changes how our entire commerce with the world. So another kind of common theme of all this will be changing our identity from being these physical creatures to our eternal nature, right? So when you see all the near-death literature, you see all these tens of thousands of people that they have a near-death experience, they trip out of their human body, and all of a sudden they expand into who they truly are, and they go, oh my gosh, that's right. I'm like this eternal being. And they look back at their life and they're like, oh yeah, all that tragedy and loss, that was all just to remind me I'm this eternal being, right? And so I have always thought about that, and I always thought, like, why am I waiting? Like, if that's the punchline to all the tragedy, all the loss, all the challenges that I've had, like, why am I waiting? Like, let me just get to the joy. Let me just get to who I really am, right? And so all of the work that we do with Numinous is to help us remember our eternal nature, to remember the truth of who we are, to remember that there is a portion of you that fire can't burn, that water can't get wet, it's way more fun to live from, it's way more full of play and joy and the sweetness of life. And if we can learn to live from that more and more, how important that is. I'm just gonna embellish on that a little bit. So look at it this way. You're this infinite being. You're this infinite being, and then you decide, for the fun of it, to come to this 3D plane and to take on the drag of a human body, right? And not only do you just take on the drag of a human body, you're taking on the drag of an infant's human body, limited to 5 senses, but also helpless, right? Like completely dependent on anyone in their environment. And so we do that for the fun of it, right? So, but what happens is then our nervous system gets entrained to think that we're little, we're small, we're helpless, and helpless, right? So we learn that. Our nervous system gets entrained like that, right? And then we go through life, and the spiritual journey is to break that programming, break that filter, to remember our eternal nature, and then to live from the deep joy of that knowledge, that deep joy of that wisdom. And from that space, we can hold this world lightly, a little bit more detached, and more full of spirit. So that's essentially, if you know the punchline of life, if you know the real purpose of why any of this trauma and tragedy is here, if we can live from my understanding of where we're at, and I'd like to hear a better explanation because I don't know, that one just really works for me, and I can feel the essence of it, and it has nourished me, it's nourished others. I see how powerful this work can be in people's lives. you know, it's just a very resourceful perspective. And so all of the spiritual salons will be working from that perspective. All right, well, I guess that's it. I'm going to be leaving some dates on the calendar. Hopefully you'll find them. You know, just keep looking for them, because I'm also kind of establishing some other things as well. But I wanted to just make this video to have you understand the flavor of how our classes are run, and how you are an essential part of them, because your input, your essence, your knowledge, your wisdom will add to the richness for all of us. And I would love to have you there. So thank you so much for listening and watching, and I hope to see you at some of the salons. Take care. Bye-bye.